contesting for the top spot or for playoffs.
Yeah, it really is. We are obviously a little bit behind, so we are going to be jumping straight to picks and bans. You can see on the lower third there, we have a look now at absolutely everything, and the Diana Renekton combo is something that I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on.
Yeah, a lot of power from the Renekton and the Lee Sin in the solo lanes, just to give room for the Diana to get to that level 6 point, get a bit more comfortable in the skirmishing. On the other side, you know, we see some pretty solid tools. The Viego's been left open. We get that Trundle jungle, which is good into a lot of these melee champions. And the Ezreal Braum, pretty strong duo, kind of mitigating this Varus and this set. I expect Rogue Warriors to have priority in that bot lane, but I feel like, you know, if LNG can lean into a little bit late in the game, they should come pretty strong into this. It's kind of an angle where, you know, you have this sort of strong bot side of the map for Rogue Warriors they really need to capitalize on to find an advantage.
Yeah, they really, really will need it as well. And for Rogue Warriors, they do have that explosive team fight. You look at the set, the Diana, the Lee Sin, things that can get in behind you and just create havoc in these fights. That's what we're going to be seeing. And for Xiao Hao, who, like we saw in that interview with Tarzan, is on a bit of a hot streak, is someone who can make things happen for Rogue Warriors. I'd be curious to see if they can cause an upset today. But one and all, we are jumping onto the Rift as quick as we possibly can for game one of this best of three. LNG versus Rogue Warriors. Rogue Warriors are out, but that does not mean they cannot play spoiler, and LNG still in the hunt for a top 4 finish.
Absolutely, and want to be taking a good win on this one. Again, we've talked I've personally talked so much about this, about having that confidence going into playoffs, feeling comfortable, feeling like you're playing at your own game. You know, you don't want to be hitting any road bumps at this point and feeling like you're not comfortable. We do see actually the double tier start from Icon and Light. And this is the thing. I think Lee Sin in the mid lane, you're going to be able to apply that early pressure to the Rise. You're not gated by things like mana. In the bot lane, you have that Varus, who obviously finds priority quite easily and does contest early. In the top lane, Arley is actually going to have a pretty strong level 1 into ZDZ. It's only really level 3 where the Renekton can start to be able to contest this matchup quite easily. And this is kind of a big matchup for me between these two, because I think Arley has been someone who, when he does well, LNG tend to do well. He can be a massive carry for them later on, but also when I look at Rogue Warriors, some of their best moments have come off the back of ZDZ. He had really strong performances in that last series, and I just think that, you know, he's on the Renekton. I think you can make a big impact in this game on the back of that.
Yeah, I think that's the big part we need to look into and see how they're able to utilize those potential picks as such, as we now see both these teams, or both these junglers starting off on their red side of their jungles. So we're going to see Xiao Hao towards the pathing down towards the bot lane, and of course Trundle and Tarzan going to be moving up towards the top. So see how it all works. And I am liking this slight adaptation in jungle pathing. We are seeing a lot more junglers not just start off with their red or blue buff. They are moving into a more, I suppose the word I'm looking for is a more set style of, I need to be in a particular position as quick as possible, or whatever way they know the timing. So we're seeing Raptors being star, Krugs. There's a lot of different adaptations coming in to try and just mitigate a couple of the early wards like this to spot out your pathing.
Yeah, I love this ward though, because essentially it gives the information of exactly where Xiao Hao's gone. You know the Raptors are down, you know he's pathed from top towards bot lane, you have a very good idea of where he's going to be, and it makes sense for Xiao Hao to do this, because then he's with his prior bot lane. We obviously saw level 1, we had that priority coming out from Arley in the top lane. We saw the bot lane, Rogue Warriors pushing in heavily. And here, of course, you know, you have the Rise who's able to shove this, but you are gated by your mana. There will come a point where you kind of need a reset, and Forge doesn't. And with the sustain for the Lee Sin with the Doran Shield, you're pretty fine at just kind of weathering the storm for a fair bit. Now, do you see Xiao Hao faster clearing than the Trundle? This is kind of expected. The Ana is a pretty fast clearer and will have an advantage there, which is why you want to see Tarzan sort of doing something with that early agency. The Trundle has a little bit more. That pillar, a really strong tool when you're looking to sort of set up fights, and also just the bite, reducing the AD, very effective to any lane, right? If you're biting the Renekton, the Lee Sin, or the Varus, it's gonna shut down their damage by a fair bit.
See how it all ends up, but let's talk about LNG and how they've come into the latter half of the split. We now see, you know, a lot of their series in the last few going to 2-1 scorelines, either for or against them. You know, you see 2-1 loss against Ultra Prime, as I stopped myself for a little bit. Forge should just be fine. Might take a little bit of harassment, but no real danger to him there. But like I was saying, you know, they lose to Ultra Prime 2-1. They lose to WE 2-1. They bring it back, but it was close against OMG. They lose to Suning. They just about scrape past LGD. Do you think that this team, after having such a fantastic start, is kind of running out of gas?
Yeah, I mean, for me, they will make playoffs, right? Based on the current scoreline, I think that they're close to being guaranteed on that. One more win and they will be locked in for playoffs. Do I think they're playoff ready? I don't know. You know, the start of the split was insane. It actually looked like they were going to be one of our top contenders and potentially challenging for the title. Recently, it's just been a bit more questionable. You know, I haven't been convinced by their play across every game. Some of the stuff Tarzan was doing, just the proactive play in the jungle, hasn't been working as effectively. There's a lot of question marks still, which is why series like this are really important. Because again, I still think, I mean, it's very likely. I think everyone's kind of in agreement. LNG are almost definitely making playoffs. I can't say definitely right now, but that is pretty much in line. But again, it's that level of play and want to see a bit more out of them in the meantime.
And similar to Suning, like we were talking about last time, they play, including this series, they play 3 more series. They play today, they play Top Esports later on in the week. That's a pretty big game. Again, another fellow playoff potential opponent. And then you finish off the season against EDG, the still #1 team that has been #1 for a very, very long time in the season. You need to start the momentum here. You need to be fixing up your mistakes, because the worst place in the world to start losing momentum and losing your style is right at the end when you're coming towards the important games. I would much rather a situation like what RNG has, where they're losing their first 5 series and then coming back and winning 6 in a row. That's the kind of style that I would much prefer to see. That is the dream, and that's what you want to see. As I see that now, flash forward, face breaker there by Chocho as he jumps in straight away, trying to get this one. Was a very DP onto this one, as he's going to be trying to join into this fight. It is still now a 4v4. Flash is being burnt, and the Haymaker not able to come out in time. Forge in a little bit of trouble. He flashes forward, lands himself the Q and gets himself out. It's still a 2 for 2 in the exchange. LNG won't be unhappy with that.
But that being said, I feel like Rogue Warriors win on this one. ZDZ didn't even join the fight. He's getting some alone time top, and it's still an even trade. They will lose that scuttle, but in terms of the fact that they didn't have to TP and still got that advantage, I think Rogue Warriors can be happy. But that being said, Ale, 2 kills on the Viego.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to see from this perspective of Rogue Warriors. That is something that is potentially concerning. So we get to see a replay of how that one panned out, and it's a nice initial engage from Rogue Warriors, getting that sort of layered CC with the set. But they kind of end up losing a little bit of steam, and there's so much value coming in from the Braum passive in this sort of skirmish. Iwandi gets the auto here onto Chocho, so they're just able to follow him. Manages just to keep locking people down, and Ale is just able to clean these one up really effectively. And obviously didn't even need to use the resets, but had them available to fight one longer. I think that's why Rogue Warriors knew they had to disengage.
You know, remember,
no flash from Betty now. I
was just about to say, there's going to be no summoners here for Betty. He can't do anything. Chocho, walk away. You don't need to be here, but he gets concussive blowed as well. He's going to try and get himself out, but it's 2 quick kills, and LNG fully punished this bot side. Rogue Warriors just not expecting the trundle in the bush.
Yep, that's the value of taking one of those skirmishes. You burn those summoners, and Rogue Warriors, they have a much more vulnerable bot lane when it comes to repeat ganks. Light still had his flash, but even if he doesn't, he has the arcane shift. Iwandi has the dash, and again, that early agency of the trundle. He throws the pillar down, and if you don't have a way of getting around it, you're in a really bad spot. The Braum dashes forward to get the passive down. Just very nicely played by LNG to find that early advantage and get some much needed gold on that Ezreal.
Very nicely done here for LNG. They get some nice gold onto their Trundle. They get some gold onto their Ezreal. They are sitting pretty and very happy. And looks like everyone's going Divine Sundera this game. Going to have Phages and Sheens for all in the top half of the LNG's map, including the Ezreal. So
I wonder what that indicates, you know, if everyone's building an item. I wonder if that item might be a little bit strong.
I have a question for you. I have a question. If everyone takes Flash, is it OP?
Yes.
Why though? If it's just is it OP because everyone takes it, or is it just everyone takes it because it has a good utility to it?
Because it's better than all the alternatives, right? You know, if everyone was building Divine Sundera in this game, I'd say it's pretty OP. If everyone was taking Conqueror in this game, which obviously it's pretty close.
It's pretty much, yeah.
I would say it's pretty OP, you know. Either that or the alternatives are just underpowered, right? You know, that's the sort of question you have to raise. It could be a situation, but then again, if everything else is underpowered compared to one thing, does that not just mean it's also overpowered?
Well, we're going to see who's overpowered in this fight. Do you see the Glacial Fish are good to kind of zone people away? I don't think LNG want this fight just yet. They're not quite in position, but they are now. Look, Iwandi is waiting. He's saying, look, if you ain't going to engage on me, I'm going to engage on you. There's the Trundle Pillar of Ice to try and get him in, but a good disengaging Chains of Corruption keeps everyone locked up and away from this fight on LNG Forge. Feeling comfortable, feeling good. Rogue Warriors strike back after a delayed Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, not sure what the game plan there was from Iwandi. He kind of like ran forwards, autoing people and exhausting them, and that was a very difficult angle to navigate in the team fight. You're coming into like a choke point. It's hard really for anyone to push forward because the lack of vision in that brush as well. It's actually a really big factor. If you kite into a brush and the enemy team doesn't have any vision, it's very hard to actually like connect with anyone in there. It's very hard to push forward and auto attack. As losing that vision at moments of the fight really vulnerable. And we can see it's like here, Rogue Warriors aren't in a great spot. They get the Herald, but they're like, we don't want to be in a fight in this position where we're all clumped up. So they push towards RA to kind of force a way out. And then I wonder, just like, he's over chasing here. They come into this brush, there's no vision. Chains of Corruptions comes down. The pillar actually means they can't follow up. And then Rogue Warriors can then turn around and go for the re-engage. And I wonder, he's used everything. So he's not able to peel. Arle goes down. It's just very messy and overforced from LNG.
They will get the delayed trade of the dragon now in their favor. So first dragon of the game goes over to LNG, and this is honestly why we're a bit concerned about LNG. This is why we're talking about them in a sense of not a top 4 team, because these decisions, these questionable trades, these ideas they come out with, it looks great one moment, and then you get something around the Rift Herald where you're really questioning what was the plan, like what was the story when they were coming into it, and that to me is something that is very, very difficult to overcome in such a short period of time.
It just needs to be someone on the team who just says, Iwandi, stop, don't, save yourself.
Bad boy, get back. Yeah. Get off the couch. Like you know you're not left.
The little water ball spritzing him, just like, no.
Yeah. Just like Wandy putting up his shield, going like hissing back, just like.
Literally.
But now you can see what Rogue Warriors having that Rift Herald. They will put Xiaohao into top side with ZDZ. And, I do believe Munchables was the last person to talk about ZDZ or ZZZ. I did get unnecessarily annoyed when he mentioned Commonwealth and put Ireland in there. We were never part of the Commonwealth. I just want to make that known. And it made me very viscerally angry. And I'm like, my God, this is a historical instinct to just kind of go with. I don't know why. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Purposely just he knew it'd tick you off,
knowing Munchables, yes.
Just bother every Irish person like a 300-mile radius, right?
Yeah, but well, that's my little piece about it, and I've made my piece known. But Rogue Warriors now pushing into this bot side jungle, have total control with the vision, and of course with the priority they've been able to garner, so they are not in any way, shape, or form afraid of going in and taking this. And for LNG, I want to see them do a little bit more than what they're doing right now, but they don't really have the tools right now to do it. They are waiting on some key items to come in, you know, around that 2-item spike.
Yeah, I mean, they have the Divine Sunderers across the board, but realistically, like, Icon isn't the strongest right now. You kind of want to lean to that 2-item with Light. A bit more for Arle as well. I think this is kind of the point where Rogue Warriors have a lot of agency, and it's kind of just mitigating the pressure for now, which is what they're trying to do here with the Herald.
And they're trying to do it with the Herald, but the Herald will die, so no plates for you, and this is something that we have seen quite a few times from a couple of different teams, just dropping the Herald, not protecting it or not being able to protect it, and it just means that you basically gain nothing for that objective.
And honestly, LNG can be really happy with this in this situation. Oh, seen a bit of a misplay from Ale.
No,
Ale will be able to, get away. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is that I think LNG, they shut down the Herald, right? They picked up the early Dragon, which means Dragon Soul's quite a while away for Rogue Warriors. It's going to be 30 minutes at the earliest. So I think this is kind of their game plan coming together. They just want to kind of mitigate the pressure in this mid-game, get to the point where they feel more comfortable and can lean on things like Icon on the rise, can lean on Light to really be this massive carry.
It sounds like the plan. Looks like LNG are happy to agree with you on that regard. True Shot Barrage to try and stop Betty's recall, but was a little bit wide of the mark. And now we see with all the turret plates going down, Ford's thinking like maybe he could go for a sneaky little Lee Sin flash kick, but not really in a position to capitalize on that. And Ale maybe feeling like he might be able to go for a move onto ZDZ, but think the better of it. I feel like that was the correct decision there from Ale.
Yeah, a little bit of a HP difference there, I will definitely say. So playing it safe in that situation. Icon, he's feeling confident with the mana pool, but he's gonna get engaged though.
He's by himself, and oh my word, he just gets picked off. I was talking to Dagda earlier on in the week, and it's exactly what he said is the issue with LNG. They're separated, they're on their own, they're almost like they're playing solo queue. They're not a cohesive unit.
I just have no idea. Like, you are never killing Lee Sin there in like a million years. It's like you get some harass down, but you put yourself in such a compromised position. And again, it means that now Rogue Warriors can lean towards this top side very comfortably and take this first tower. You know, sometimes you see this great mitigation from LNG. They deny the herald. I'm like, okay, good job. And then they just do something like that. It's like, well, great. You just kind of inted your entire top side of the map. Good job.
Yeah, it just doesn't really make sense. And this separation of players trying to just get themselves ahead, trying to, I suppose the word I'm looking for is find a sneaky advantage, and just not respecting or just thinking about the damage that comes out or the position they're in. There was 4 people from Rogue Warriors in that top side. There was nobody supporting LNG's mid laner Icon. He was by himself, and he is expecting to come out on top of that? Like, it just seems like a silly play.
Yeah, really questionable. We do see Tarzan able to find this window to get the Herald. Obviously, resets came in and Rogue Warriors leaning bot side. And this is kind of why I like the fact that they got that first dragon, because now Rogue Warriors are like, okay, we want dragons, we want to start stacking up, we feel strong. But because they're down that first one, and it was also kind of not the earliest first dragon, it's going to be quite a while before it really becomes a threat. And LNG are going to take this time to use a Herald, and it's actually crazy this, going to hit the tower. Insane.
I know, they denied Rogue Warriors from getting the tower hit. They will get a tower hit themselves and could keep pushing in this top side. You do see Chocho roaming up to try and support ZDZ. As now they know exactly where he is. Ford's still pushing in this bot side. Won't get the turret just yet. They will still get a charge maybe on this Herald. No, they will not. So they will not be able to pressure onto this tier 2, which has got a little extra gold in it. But LNG now using the fact that multiple members have roamed up towards top to try and push in mid.
Yeah, so it'll just be a trade of those 1 towers, the tier 1s on either side. Obviously, LNG got to push the wave in a bit deeper, so we'll be quicker to move out on the map. But I don't think Rogue Warriors are really too concerned. They still feel confident. They still have a pretty decent gold lead to play around with. And again, their champions are in a pretty strong spot right now. You know, the next in Lee Sin, spiking hard on that sort of 1 to 2 item point. Betty as well with that poke virus, doing a fair amount of damage. You can connect those arrows.
Well, they are finding Tarzan on these Raptors as they try and maybe be a nuisance to him. They are just sitting in the fog of war right now, and oof, almost taking with the piercing arrow. And now 4 members of Rogue Warriors in this bot side. So Icon does not have his Everfrost just yet, so he needs to be so careful with how he pushes up this wave.
Yeah, I think he's just honestly just needs to catch the wave there. You know, Rogue Warriors really heavily pushing into these bot 2 lanes because they feel confident. You know, ZZZ's on the top side, but he's got TP to join them. And so they're comfortable to deeply aggressive push in and get some vision control, steal away some camps, and then they can kind of reset off the back of that. You can see Xiao Hao just going towards his own jungle. And it's that ebb and flow of pressure and just trying to get more resources than your opponent and continue that gold lead. Because right now, there isn't really anything in particular to fight for unless you find a massive advantage or you find someone caught out. So it's kind of hit that slower pace as we get towards the mid game.
Yeah, a bit of gold on the Viego to go back and spend, so he's going to do that right now. And of course, you can see Light just trying to stack up towards his Manamune right now, as we now see Iwandi in a little bit of trouble. The Unbreakable goes up, but nowhere for you to go. Flashes over the wall and uses his exhaust as well, but to just absolutely no avail. Nice little pick off here from Rogue Warriors, and they're just using the vision they had from before.
Yeah, and Iwandi is kind of been looking a bit rough this game, honestly. Just pushing too far forwards, not respecting, not grouping up with teammates. And again, as you said when you were talking about Dagda's statement about how this is kind of LNG's weakness, this disconnect between the members.
just not really feeling like they're part of a team, just moving forward by themselves. Like, especially when it comes to dewarding an area that you previously did not have control of, it's the buddy system. You have to have a buddy. You have to have someone there, especially when you're on something like a Braum that just really has no escape after they've been caught out, to get yourself out and get yourself back into safety. And going by himself there, you can see it just wasn't really a position for him to be able to try and fight it, and loses all summoners, loses his life. Rogue Warriors very, very happy with that.
Yep, and they'll keep pushing it. 3,000 gold lead now. Dragon in a minute 45, so likely to lean towards that one and play for that. And in fairness, I think LNG are kind of fine with the slower pace that is kind of coming out from this game, but it's still not great when they're just dropping needless members. And it's kind of been on Icon Iwandi in the situations here. It's just that vision before. Iwandi's alone clearing this out. The Trundle should be there with you. You should try and have priority in the lanes that the laners can lean in as well to contest this. And it was just a little bit disrespectful and obviously did backfire. And now we look at Forge, we look at Xiaohao. Those two are the most fed on this side of Rogue Warriors compared to the counterparts. Really far ahead. And quite scary. They're hitting those 2 item breakpoints. You got the Zhonya's and the Proto Belt from the Dana. You got the Sterex and the Gold Drink of Lee Sins. He's super tanky. And on the other side, you know, Icon is still looking to scale up.
Icon's still sitting on just his Everfrost. It will be a while until he's very much the machine gun Rise that we know and love. And the Poke from Light still doing decent amount of damage. He gets 2 or 3 Mystic shots onto Forge, or maybe even onto Betty. It will force a reevaluation, if you will, from the side of Rogue Warriors, whether or not they want to take a fight. 30 seconds till that dragon spawns. Honestly, I feel like if you're LNG right now, you just let it go. There's no real reason for you to be able to try and fight this. You know the enemy's on such a power spike that there's just no reason to try and contest it or even give them the opportunity.
Yeah, Forge is such a threat right now. Level 13, 2 items. I just wouldn't want to tango with them. If they find a window, great. If they don't, you know, just keep on moving.
I can't think of a song with those lyrics on it, but
yeah, it's a new song. I've made it up now. It's not
yeah,
a
there
thing.
you go. I'm sure there is a song that has those exact lyrics on.
It could be something like window shopping, like they're window shopping or something, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out in post. But LNG, they just bully RW off, and now we're going to see the showstopper to start all of things off. We're going to see the Glacial Fisher to try and disengage, and this is all right for LNG. They're trying to see if they can get the kills down. The Viego, however, will not get the reset. The Gore Drinkers, good Everfrost though onto 2 means that Forge and Xiaohao cannot continue. LNG just get a dragon and they get out 1 for 1. They're happy.
Yeah, Rogue Warriors kind of just like walk away. They had, they had control of the dragon area. It felt like they're on a strong spike, and they kind of just let LNG run past them, grab the dragon, and go. And it's like, it was a clean getaway from LNG. They only lost RLA. They traded 1 for 1. They can be more than happy with that situation. Just questionable from Rogue Warriors. That should have been theirs to take.
Very, very questionable coming into this. Have a look at this replay there. And like I said, just Rogue Warriors back away, and then they try to find the fight afterwards when they're not really in position to fully engage.
And again, they're trying to engage on LNG, and look at the positioning of Icon and Light. Once more, it's that tri-brush where there's no vision for Rogue Warriors. It's very hard to dive in and commit here, or even hit them with anything, because they just keep going into this brush. You lose vision of them, you can't auto-attack them, and they can move back and forth. And that choke point as well, if you push in and you get locked down in that choke, you will go down. Just not a good place to take the fight based on the terrain. No reason to take the fight because you already lost a dragon, and no reason to give the dragon up because you're stronger. You should have been able to take that. And again, the gold lead is still consistent, but I already talked about how that dragon, that first dragon from LNG, delayed the soul by 5 minutes. We're now looking at, if you're trying to get a dragon soul for Rogue Warriors, it's going to be like ridiculously late in the game.
40 minutes,
35
maybe.
minutes,
Yeah.
35, 36 minutes before you can get a dragon soul. And by that point, it's not necessarily enough to just say, okay, we got dragon soul, we win. It's definitely not. And especially with a mountain soul, which is such a powerful one to pick up early, but later in the game when people have percentage penetration, enough damage to cut through the shields, it's not as big. Now Rogue Warriors are starting the Baron up. There isn't actually any vision nearby here.
I love this. I love this. And they're even throwing the Varus into mid lane to make sure that absolutely nobody goes undetected. They're now putting the pings down to say, hang on, these guys have been AFK for a little bit. Tarzan is around. They now know he's coming in. They now know it probably is being taken down and gone. Taken away from LNG. Rogue Warriors steal away the Baron. Forge caught between a pillar and a wall, but he is fine. Great, great awareness for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, really good angle. They knew that LNG had their vision committed on the bot side, contesting the dragon. Off the back of the reset, they're able to make sure there's no vision on the top side. And LNG just kind of sleeping on this one, honestly. They're like, okay, cool. We got the dragon. Great. Let's just go back to farming. But didn't really think about the prospect of the threat of that Baron. I think the big thing is because there's this poke Varus, like, oh, the DPS is low, they won't do it. But the poke Varus isn't even a factor in that. It's just the Lee Sin and the Diana can essentially 2-man it quite comfortably.
I mean, when you're sitting on 2.5 items per carry, it is very, very easy to try and just make that one work for you. As we can see now, Forge roaming down towards this bot side. He shall be the designated man to deal with Viego in the bot lane. Should be easy enough for him to be able to sweep out those minion waves, get himself back into position. He's also quite quick as well. You have got the safeguard with the ward jumps to be able to get yourself in and out of positions and maybe even find a flank. But while that's been happening, mid lane tier 1 will eventually fall as Rogue Warriors are just barrening up the minions. And this is great for them. It was honestly looking a little scary for them the longer this game goes on, but they should be able to get a lot from this Baron buff.
Yeah, they really need that Baron, and it's going to allow them to push the goal lead and find a bigger advantage. You see LNG trying to sort of play defensive around their Raptors, but Rogue Warriors don't really care. They can just lean into this bot wave that Forge just set up and apply pressure to this tier 2 tower. Icon and Ale are there to try and defend, but again, they can't really do anything to this cannon minion. Oh, that being said,
they're not going to go for the cannon minion. They're going to go for the bigger cannon minion that is Betty, but Betty just survives, uses his flash to get away from the Viego. And again, no one was there to follow up. Ale goes in completely alone. The rest of his team got to look at him like, all right, bye. And now Rogue Warriors could maybe crack open the base.
I'm going to be cautious about the AoE from the Rise bouncing on them, but LNG aren't comfortable stepping up. They can't clear the minions quick enough. There's going to be bot inhib down, and Rogue Warriors, you know, they're getting so much more than they ever bargained for. It's just consistently LNG are just handing them these freebies over where they overstep, they're disconnected, they're isolated, and it's very easy for Rogue Warriors to capitalize. They're now almost 7,000 gold up off the back of that Baron.
I know it was your birthday yesterday and my birthday today, but I feel like Rogue Warrior's birthday is coming in spades with the amount of gifts that LNG are giving them, because this is just, look at this. This is literally just Ale going in and no one else being able to follow up and even wanting to follow up.
Yeah, I mean, it's very isolated. I guess his game plan was just to burst Betty, but he wasn't even close. Even if the ult connects there, I don't actually think Betty needed a flash.
Nope.
But wanted to play it safe. It's just oversteps consistently from this LNG side.
Now the bot lane is cracked open. That's a great inhibitor to take this early on in the game, because it means you can put pressure onto Baron as it comes up, and also gives you pressure around this dragon, because you just cannot gain control of your own bot side jungle. And now LNG, they need an outplay. They need to find an opportunity to bring this game back in their favor, because they are significantly behind now. 6,000 gold. The dragons are 2 apiece. The bot lane is cracked open. They don't really have great engage either. I'm looking at it. I'm kind of going, it's kind of sometimes engage if they can get on top of someone or get a flank around. But I look on Rogue Warriors. They have so much engage.
Yep. It really feels like LNG need to find a fight where they can kite back effectively, but there's no reason for Rogue Warriors to give them that scenario. They'll just focus the closest person, blow them up, and then translate that into pressure around the map. And again, they are comfortable playing scenarios like this where it's a 3-2. Ale's not able to handle this. They're going to lose that top lane tier 2. Extra influx of gold onto that jungle mid from Rogue Warriors, and it's just compounding that gold lead to the point where it doesn't matter that, you know, LNG are going to scale well if you're this far behind.
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher, as LNG really do struggle to deal with these waves, even without the Baroned up minions. They are going to struggle for it. There is the Glacial Fisher, will land on the ZDZ, but he is not really the person you want to be trying to catch out. They will defend the tier 2, but they've lost a big ultimate now on the Braum.
I mean, you see the engage there. It's like, okay, let's do a sniper brawl ult to try and knock someone up. Okay, that only hit the Recton. Let's throw a pillar down, and that's it. That's literally it. Where's the engage coming in?
There we go. The flash kick right down the showstopper to try and start it all off. The Braum is dead. Now, can you look for anything off of this? Great moonfall to catch out 3, and you can see LNG in full retreat. They want nothing to do with this, but they got to be careful. And Rogue Warriors, they have not got the resets available to the Viego, though. LNG just getting decimated, and with TP available on the Lee Sin, they may look for the end right here, right now.
I think it might be a bit of a risky one. Xiao very low in this, but they are going to try it. That's actually a bit of a misplay of the TP. You should wait for it the minion speed at a tower, but actually they got supers in the bot lane, so why not just use them?
Double supers here, so they can just look to try and take down this turret. There is a Varus there. Betty, though, not really got a lot of mana, and Rogue Warriors, they're thinking the better of it. They don't want to risk it all on one last Nexus push. The death timer's not exactly huge enough, but 9,000 gold or 8,000 gold in the lead. They've got themselves 2 inhibitors down, and LNG are reeling.
Yeah, it was an ambitious play, but trying to go for the end there, but this was spot on, you know. The engage comes in, kicking the Braum instead of the Ezreal because you know the Arcane Shift's going to come through, and with the Braum going down, it removes a lot of that passive power coming out from him. And they just start shutting down one member at a time. There's no space for this front to back to come through from LNG. They're just diving forwards, chaining together kills.
It's just too good. You can see here, LNG almost get a couple of resets. They get the one off, and you're kind of thinking, oh, maybe Viego's season 10 or season 11 stuff coming into my minds, but RW just able to completely burst him down as soon as he comes back up. They now have 3 items on pretty much everybody, 3.5 on some of their bigger carries. They are 8,000 gold ahead. They are in total control of the game, and thankfully, if you're an LNG fan, they will have their bottom inhibitor respawning in 1 minute, but that's 2 more waves of super minions, and the Baron is alive.
Yeah, it makes it really difficult having these 2 inhibitors down against the Baron. They're fortunate that Icon is playing Rise because he just, does that.
Yep.
But the thing is, Arle can't really go down and clear out this wave and then be back in time to TP because the Baron's already been started. So really nice timing from Rogue Warriors to kick this one off. The inhibitor's respawning soon, but the fight's kicking off already.
The fight is kicking off. Glacier Fisher has been used. Chocho takes a lot of damage. Force goes in with the kick to try and set this one all up. The Braum is dead, but they get take down the Icon. The Rise is gone, and Forge is still pushing forward. It's a very, very good fight for Rogue Warriors, and they have a TP on ZDZ if they want to try and end the game. That's a quadra kill here for Betty on the Varus, and game 1 goes to RW in, honestly, a very convincing fashion.
And it feels like LNG would try to play this passive defensive game throughout the early game into the mid game, but Rogue Warriors just found the agency, and I think LNG did an okay job at first, but then it was just this disconnect between them, getting caught out consistently, and Rogue Warriors punished hard, made great adaptations, leading towards that Baron sneak which they were able to pull off. This just felt like LNG were out of sorts, and Rogue Warriors, they may be out of playoffs, but they're very much still playing for these wins.
Absolutely. Rogue Warriors just rolling over LNG.